So in this video, I want us to analyze the things that Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027. You see, Kalonzo can beat William Ruto by doing the exact opposite of what has made him a watermelon for over 2 decades. You see, Kalonzo is famously known for indecision. He is famously known for overcalculation, and is famously known for waiting for political rain instead of planting political maize. The first thing that Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must stop being the best bridesmaid in African politics. Kamba elders were right when they said that the goat that follows the funeral procession for too long may be buried with the dead. The historical problem of Kalonzo is very simple. He has a tendency of being Mr. Nice. He has a tendency of being the almost type of guy. History, science, and psychology demonstrate clearly that nice guys always finish last. In 2007, Kalonzo ran for the presidency alone. In 2008, Kalonzo became the vice president. In 2013, he supported Raila Odinga. In 2017, he supported Raila Odinga again. And as if that was not enough, in 2022, Kalonzo had the audacity to support Raila again. At this point, even the common boda rider and mama mboga in Kenya are familiar with the CV of Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo has the undisputed experience of supporting other people's political dreams. I'm talking about the political dream of people like Mwai Kibaki and the political dreams of people like Raila Odinga. You see, Kenyan politics is like cooking chapati. If you keep turning chapati without placing it on fire, your chapati is going to remain a dough. For Kalonzo to beat Ruto, Kalonzo must do a number of things. Kalonzo must confidently declare his ambition to run for the presidency early. Kalonzo must campaign like it's the main dish and not the side salad. And Kalonzo must stop negotiating himself into the position of the deputy president. Because voters in Kenya have a tendency of respecting ownership. William Ruto understood this in 2022. In fact, William Ruto did not wait for political permission. He built a machine from the ground. Politics in Kenya has a tendency of rewarding builders and not rewarding waiters. Kalonzo recently accepted leadership in Azimio and signaled readiness for 2027. In fact, Kalonzo now has an opening to define himself rather than remain in another person's shadow. The second thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must build a coalition wider than Ukambani. Swahili elders were right when they said that one finger cannot kill a louse. You see, Kenyan politics is usually arithmetic before it is philosophy. To beat Ruto, Kalonzo needs a number of things. Kalonzo needs Eastern, which is no doubt his best. Kalonzo needs Mount Kenya, which is a critical swing. Kalonzo needs Western Kenya, which is currently a vote basket. Kalonzo needs Coast, which is a strategic turnout. And most importantly, Kalonzo needs the urban youth. So that without these things, State House will remain tourism for Kalonzo Musyoka. You see, if you want to lift a lorry, you don't call your cousin and his girlfriend. You call the entire estate. That is coalition politics in Kenya. You see, Mwai Kibaki in 2002 won because NAC united everybody in this country against the then President Moi. Kibaki did not win because he was louder. Kibaki was simply the acceptable candidate. So what is Kalonzo's best strategy? Kalonzo should become the least offensive major candidate among the opposition leaders. And just like Kibaki, Kalonzo should not be exciting. Kalonzo should just strive to be electable. You see, you hardly see Kenyans posting ugali on Instagram, but nearly everybody in Kenya loves and eats ugali. The third thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must weaponize economic pain. You see, Ruto's greatest strength in 2022 was economic messaging. And I'm talking about the hustlers narrative. Ruto's greatest vulnerability in 2027 is no doubt the economy. If Ruto goes to Sogoi in 2027, it will be because of the economy. Kamba elders were right when they said that when the stomach is empty, the ears do not listen. Kalonzo should completely avoid elite constitutional lectures. Kalonzo should boldly and consistently talk about taxes, talk about fuel, talk about unga, talk about jobs, talk about the failure of SHA, talk about the housing levy and the funding model in the education sector. Because Mama Mboga and Boda Boda in Kenya does not care that much about coalition agreements. They care whether tomatoes are being taxed like imported diamonds. They care whether fuel is being taxed like imported gold in Kenya. You see, William Ruto won in 2022 by making economics emotional. The guy had no clear economic plan. He just knew how to make economics emotional because Ruto understood that most Kenyans react to politics emotionally. Kalonzo can win by making economics personal. You see, the 2027 presidential election is not business as usual. It must be personal. The fourth thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must avoid the museum politician kind of image. You see, this is Kalonzo's danger. Kalonzo has been around since the Moi era. Young voters hear that and think, bro was in government when dinosaurs were applying for IDs. Kalonzo has no choice but to rebrand, not as an old system, but as an experienced kind of reform. President Joe Biden in the United States won the presidential elections in America, not because he was young, not because he was youthful, not because he was energetic. Joe Biden won because Joe Biden became the safest alternative. Kalonzo can do the same in Kenya. His brand should be steady hands, calm government, and lower political drama. Basically, less shouting and more governing. The fifth thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must exploit Ruto's overconfidence. Bukusu elders were right when they said That the cock that thinks down comes because it crows will one day be eaten. Incumbents have a tendency of being arrogant. Daniel Arap Moi underestimated NAC in 2002. Kanu thought that power was hereditary, only to discover that democracy is not inheritance. If Ruto's camp fractures internally, as it is doing currently, then Kalonzo must act, and he must act very fast. Because politics in Kenya is like matatu conductors fighting over passengers. So that the one who shouts fast, more often than not, wins. The sixth thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo needs a killer kind of deputy. Like the way Ruto knew, he needed Gachagua to win and not Kindiki. You see, Kenyan elections are not solo football. They are relay kind of races. Kalonzo needs a deputy who gives energy. He needs a deputy who gives regional numbers. He needs a deputy who gives aggression. A deputy like Rigathi Gachagua. Because Kalonzo's natural style is diplomacy. And sometimes Kalonzo has made the mistake of being too diplomatic. You see, tea without sugar is useful, but it is not memorable. Ruto's brilliance in 2022 was complementing himself with regional power centers, the likes of Rigathi Gachagua. Kalonzo has no choice but to do the same in 2027. The seventh thing Kalonzo must do to beat William Ruto in 2027 is that Kalonzo must master narrative warfare. William Ruto is arguably Kenya's strongest political storyteller, second only to Raila Odinga. Ruto's message was hustlers versus dynasty. Simple, powerful, and marketable. Kalonzo is going to need his own narrative. A simple, a powerful, and marketable narrative. A possible narrative for Kalonzo Musyoka could be promise versus performance. And that is dangerous to an incumbent because every unmet promise becomes a campaign material. You see, William Ruto has been unable to effectively fulfill most of his promises. Kalonzo Musyoka can effectively use that against William Ruto. You see, unfulfilled political promises are like unpaid Fuliza. Fuliza will keep reminding you to pay it. You see, the biggest obstacle for Kalonzo Musyoka is Kalonzo Musyoka himself. Now, here's the brutal truth. Kalonzo's enemy is not William Ruto. Kalonzo's enemy is hesitation. Kalonzo's enemy is indecision. And Kalonzo's enemy is over-calculations. Giriama elders were right when they said that the man who chases two rats catches none. For years, Kalonzo has been accused of being politically flexible. So flexible that Kenyans joyfully nicknamed Kalonzo the watermelon. Green outside, red inside, sweet when ripe, but confusing when cut. Is it funny? Absolutely it is funny. But politically it is very, very costly. You see, presidential candidates have no choice but to look very certain. Because a nation does not board a bus whose driver keeps asking passengers where to go. The bottom line is, for Kalonzo to beat Ruto, Kalonzo must combine unity, he must combine economy, he must combine boldness, timing, narrative in order to get victory in 2027. So that without unity, Kalonzo loses. Without boldness, Kalonzo will become deputy president again. Without narrative, Ruto is going to eat Kalonzo politically for breakfast. And in Kenyan politics, breakfast is usually served way before you even know that the kitchen has been opened. African elders were right when they said that when elephants fight, the grass suffers. But when the grass organizes, the elephant runs. In 2027, the question is not whether Kalonzo can beat William Ruto. The question is, can Kalonzo Musyoka finally convince Kenyans that he wants to be president more than he wants to be available? My name is Biketi. If it is your first time here, make sure to follow this channel and to subscribe for more political analysis.